A senior advocate of Nigeria, FM&TV, believes that the federal government of Nigeria has a duty to interfere decisively on behalf of the majority of people by enforcing price control mechanism that protects citizens from exploitation as envisaged under the Price Control Act. Falana spoke on a television program against the background of his recent lawsuit against the federal government over failure to control rising price of essential commodities. He said the government has a duty under the Price Control Act to control the price of essential commodity so that Nigerians will not be subjected to harder times, especially after the Minister of Information had recently said that there is enough food in the country. Well, fortunately, majority of Nigerians cannot afford the price that have gone to the roof. He argued that while affluent citizens can cope with aspiring inflation, most ordinary Nigerians have been priced out of accessing basic commodities under the current regime. Hence, the urgent need for government to intervene based on extant laws. Recall that the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos on Wednesday ordered the federal government to fix the price of goods and petroleum products within 7 days. Justice Ambrose Louis Alago granted the order sequel to an original motion filed and argued by the appellant, Femi Falana. Falana had dragged the Price Control Board and the Attorney General of the Federation, both of whom are listed as defendants, before the court to determine whether the defendant is carrying out his duty to impose a price on any goods that are of a kind specified in the first schedule of the Price Control Act. But the big question or the big story for today, with just a day to go, will the federal government act on the order of the court, or will it stick with the present where price of goods and services are arbitrarily increased by some Nigerians to the hard-hit majority of others? Well, this and more as it concerns the fixing of price of goods and services is what this edition of the big story is all about. And we're talking about control of price of the commodities, a federal government duty. Well, it's a question we're asking today on the big story. We're asking the price, the control price of commodities. Is it a federal government duty? It's a major question. But to truly help us talk about this today on the show, we have no other person but one that's almost like an activist also to Femi Falana, and indeed a lawyer, and also one that will be helping us to really look at the issues. I'm talking of no other person but Barrister Casey Omoerapo. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir. Well, anyway, let's just go straight to it. Justice Ambrose Louis Alago specifically ordered the federal government to fix the prices of some basic, and this was while he delivered judgment on the suit number FHC/L/CS/869/2023, filed by no other person but human rights lawyer Femi Falana. And funny enough, it's against the Price Control Board and also the Attorney General of the Federation. Now, as a lawyer, I'm forced to ask. Now, let's look at the order, and we'll look at Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Price Control Act 2004. My question is, let's establish the pure fact, looking at that extant law. Does the federal government has the required power to price, or rather fix the price of goods and services, looking at Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Price Control Act 2004?
Thank you, Mike. These are not normal times in the annals of our country. And we must be very, very blunt to ourselves. Like you mentioned, my learned friend,
Femi Falana.
Yes, public education interest is good. And also, my good friend from the Vice Ayed, the Honorable Jazala Goa, his pronouncement is good. But there are certain things we call in the legal margin, salute popular as suprema lex. And do that, let's call it. At this possibility, the court or the judge does not pronounce on what is impossible to implement because they cannot supervise it. Now, do you just sit in the four corner of an air conditioned room and they go and control prices? Who controls? Is it the price of production?
Sorry to cut you there. Let's listen or look at the act and that law. Does the federal government, I do know you said the law also has a double function.
I want to help you there.
Should let's take the fact first. Does the law has the federal government has that right to control the price according to the law?
Yeah, the law, the law that regulates the Price Control Act is there inside the book, but not implementable practically. And there's also the law of insects, the law of bigamy. Who is in prison in this country for marrying 2 wives? They are there. The laws are there, but those are obsolete laws that are not implementable. How do you arrest a man, say my second wife can't go jail? Where? In Africa? Those are white men laws. And this one you talk called price control, in those days when we were children, they used to implement it. But now we're going to implement the cost of production, the cost of distribution, and the cost of consumers' interest. Which price are we controlling? Well, what we should be asking federal government to do is to open up the market. If there's surplusity, the price will fall.
Okay, but the fact still remains the law is there.
Yeah, the law is there. But what I'm saying is that I do not want tomorrow, because of this program, somebody will go into Ughelli market and shut the store and sell everything auction on people as they used to do.
Well, anyway, I know that's not your wish, especially as you always look at the right of others. But what we just really want to know, and the right question to ask is the law
is there, but this law is not implementable.
Okay, well,
the federal go and control price now. Okay, as he has gone the judgment.
But Sakesi Omoreba, okay, let's leave your argument for a while. We'll come to that. Most certainly we'll come to it. But I still want us to continue on the course of this discussion. Now, on the course of this discussion, I was opportuned to further check. And when I mean further check, knowing that we'll have this discussion today, I went into the books and also did some of my own investigation. And I was opportune to look at the Price Control Act. Let's look at the first schedule of that very act.
Yes.
Now, the Price Control Board has the power or duty to impose a price on any goods that are on the kind specified in the first schedule of the Price Control Act. And such goods include bicycles and its spare parts, flour, matches, milk, motorcycles and its spare parts, motor vehicles and its spare parts, salt, sugar, and petroleum products, including, we're talking about PMS diesel and kerosene, all listed in the Price Control Act. But my question is, why has the board over the years, to establish that fact that, well, it's there in the law though, my question now is, why has the board over the years, and most critical recently, failed to do so? And is it not a failure on the part of the government if they fail to do so, sir?
Mike, the law is enacted or supposed to have been enacted in 2004, isn't it?
Yes.
Price Control Act 2004. But it has always been there ever before independence.
Yeah, but we do know there was a revised edition in 1977.
So what I'm trying to tell you, a law that's talking of bicycle at this jet age of a plane and all, bicycle park.
But with the present situation of things, bicycle is well appreciated. But let's leave our appreciation on
about the horses carrying food from the farm.
Come on,
so what I'm saying is, you see, it's a norm for the parliament to sit down and make laws, but they must take into consideration the circumstance and the environment. You don't make laws that are not implementable. Right now in our country, if my mother goes to the farm and uproot cassava and then grind it and then ferment it and fry it and carry it to Ekpoma market, and you come to control her price, who are you? Who warrant to? That one law paper they brought from Lagos say my mother should not sell it to her. Whereas the cost of bringing from the farm to the house, the cost of bringing it, of frying it and employing people, the cost of carrying from Ebudi down to Ekpoma, and the cost of paying the wheelbarrow man, you are there to tell you sell it for 5 naira. How? So what I am saying is that certain laws ought to have been revised and revised and revised because of the changing situation of the circumstances. You don't allow law to remain there just because you want to use to harass people. The purpose of law is to regulate human conduct, and human conduct must be to human welfare. That's because salus popular is supremacy for the safety and the welfare of the people.
But if we're talking about welfare and safety of the people, do we not need that now?
No, hold on. Like I said, let me help you.
If we take our
government should do to bring down the prices is to open production. Then they should no longer put any tax on consumable goods.
Okay, well, I'm surprised by Sakisi Omar, but you're now sounding as an economist and not
so
but let's still remain with
no. If we see, if I want to buy bread now, if the man who is a baker is not imposed tax on whoever you to come to block the gate, you never pay the and then he knows that he gets the flour at a supply at a cheaper price. He knows that petrol is cheap, he can bring it here. If I want to buy that bread, that bread has moved from 1000 naira to 1,500 now. He will give me for 200 naira, but he wants to sell more. Especially when all the streets full bread, bakery everywhere. But do you know that 1 year I tried to open a bakery? Somebody warned me. That's what online know. If you open a bakery, bakers, will first of all give you one baker. The day they get angry, they will close all your bakery. Nobody will work for you. And then you go outside to learn how to bake. So I realized that it was a cartel thing. So if it was an open market, everybody will bake. There will be bread everywhere. So, but now, you are telling me to reduce price when there's no other market for me to go. If there's other market, for example, price of yam, the Malam road is on wheelbarrow, the Isha yam is there, the Benue one is there, then if you 2 days you are selling someone nobody buys, sell down for 200 naira, you will force to sell for 200 naira. But when this you have a monopoly, it's difficult.
But Sakisi Omar, let's still remain with the basics, because even if we argue this back and forth, look at the economic value, look at what the law says, we'll still be left with a very hungry population, which we are presently going through. And in every statistics and in every way of looking at the issues, when you basically look at the price of these goods and services, many other Nigerians are taking, or rather exploiting, the basic ordinary Nigerians. I'm yet to come to that. With the increase in price of goods and services. So would this not, looking at what Femi Falana said, would this not be the best time for the government to see on board?
Okay, let me give you another example of that. Shaving powder. I asked my driver to buy me shaving powder on Saturday. He said it was 2005 last. I drove to one place called Savary. He told me 7,000. I was sitting and saw for 2,500. Those are post price control.
Is that not exploitation?
Yes, people exploit. And then if you drive a Jeep, they give you a different price. If you come to that is Nigeria for you. If you are going to Benin, you want to buy food stuff on the road, please park far and stroll down. They give a cheaper price. You are their own and their friend. But if you are driving a Jeep with a policeman inside, to buy of your 5,000, or that said to get out. But they will fight you. So you can see that the prices are pegged on who you are. Those are not good behavior at all. Those are where price control can come in. Yeah, that's where price control can come in if we can identify them. And do you often blame them? These are perishable goods. And they must say to go to the market, say how many oranges and tomatoes throw out every day. Nobody is able to buy, and they won't bring in down because there's even no storage. So when they say to cover the whole basket, well, look, the problem is not with the poor. It's with the greedy politicians. We should hold them responsible. The poor they are suffering. They are prisoners in their own houses.
Should the poor make the poor suffer more?
It's what I'm saying now.
We keep blaming the affluent Nigerians. We keep blaming the VIPs, the politicians. But we also, the poor Nigerians, are not taking pity on the poor Nigerians. Will this law not help enacting or rather speaking with this
divide and rule system? We have been so pushed to the world that we're no longer capable of reasoning. We're not capable of voting. We're not capable of achieving our leaders. We're not capable of dictating our currency.
But sir, we are hungry.
The dollar is now 1,500 per one. And here we are just helpless. And somebody is telling me it's going on strike. Strike where? When they will give you money just when you return home. After 2 weeks, we are back to square one. Where were the money of strike, those who were investing? We'll strike and we'll get the result for come. But this time, it's an unusual thing. They strike and they call them to the house and give them some money. It's okay, we'll call them, suspend the strike. Until they do something. The strike has become that business. So nobody's going to close the economy for me and tell me to go to work what else you know what it's doing. That's the problem we have. The poor have been divided. We are no longer one. The thing that held us together has been caught. The only solution is a sovereign national conference. Well, anyway, not just a conference, sovereign
before we go to that conference, as we always talk about the issue of resource control and also true federalism, let's still remain with the point of discourse today. Now, on the course of this program, you do know I love making my investigation. I still went further to investigate, and I was amazed to find out that the Price Control Board was scrapped by the last administration.
Okay.
It was scrapped by the last administration.
Was it just scrapped by mere fiat, or there was legislation?
That is where my question is going now, because it's going to come on twofold.
Yes.
Now, my question, and funny enough, somebody that even supported my investigation was no other person but the assistant director, press, Ministry of Industry and Trade and Investment, and I'm talking of no other person but Mrs. Felicia Adeyomo. She also said that basically the Price Control Board was scrapped just last year by the previous administration, which was 3 years ago. Now, my two questions on that: does the administration have the right to scrap such? Number one. And number two question: would it not also amount to now enforcing a board that is already scrapped to do a duty that you don't even have members on the board to go ahead with?
Thank you.
So
I wanted to ask, if you said the board or the committee has been dissolved, is it from the law being scrapped? When you say a law is scrapped, there must be a promulgation that would have eradicated the old law.
The previous administration have the right to do so?
The previous administration, it was the government have the right to do it, but must be done in accordance to law.
They do the right to
if there was even a scrapping, let me tell you something. In this country, we obey the executive rather than legislature. A governor in the data center can just say, no more Okada in Warri, no more Okada be banned. There's no law following it. And yet, police start arresting everybody. Nobody says anything. They come to court of law. Court of law will not hear. How can one man just make law?
Yes.
He's an executive, cannot introduce a bill to the House of Assembly.
So you're saying that the previous administration had no right to scrap it?
They did not ever scrap it. They only made the pronouncement. They didn't. There's no law scrapping it, to my knowledge. So definitely, if you still operate under the act exists. Okay, why did the court implement it now? If it was scrapped, why did we allow go make a pronouncement? It shows that it's in existence. If everyone quote the law that has been scrapped, they will tell you, oh, no, that no longer in existence. So the law is used is in existence. So nothing was scrapped. They may have dissolved their body, they dissolve every day to give job to the boys. Everybody knows them. They dissolve every day. Dissolve everything.
But Mrs. Felicia said it. That it has been scrapped.
If Mrs. Felicia is just an individual, is not a law enforcement agent, is not a lawmaker, is not governor, not anything, he must have been told go to another ministry and you have been deployed. So the government of today can immediately call a meeting and set up a committee, call the Price Control Board. Is that not? So if they dissolved the board because they were no longer working, they were old salaries, they were now playing draft, doing nothing. At the end of the month, they earn salary. That's what you do ministry now. So, and here we blame government. So maybe that's why somebody dissolved that board. Doesn't mean that the law was scrapped. Doesn't mean that board was scrapped. They only dissolve individual from holding meeting. You can imagine you are budgeting every year to a board that does not work. Yeah. You send them cars, you send them money. Somebody just sit down there sharing the money and no implementation. You say no. We're no longer going to send money. You haven't put on not doing anything. Everybody just dissolve, go to another ministry. Let me tell you, you know how the super was raining. They employed every manner of human beings. When the same government came to power, it dissolved them and deployed all of them to different departments of government. Only few power. The place have become sane a bit. So we will say dissolved. No, the act, the law on that the super is still there. But they pull it down to a manageable size. That's it. So definitely, when you say a board is proscribed or dissolved or something, it's possible with a fiat. One individual starts somewhere and say, no more go to that meeting. And somebody will just say, no more Okada and Warri. But there's a presentation. Don't enter until 10. Who are you? To contain my movement, which constitution guaranteed. And no law that can grant a constitution. The constitution gives me the right of movement. And you cannot say there's no hazard in movement. There's no epidemic that's one that you are protecting me against. That you will not tell me I should not go out. I go out.
Okay, anyway, we're not going out of this discussion. I'll plead with you to hold on. We need to go on a break now. But before we do so, in case you're just joining us, you've missed the great half of the show already. We're looking at that very law, or rather order, coming from the Federal High Court in Lagos, insisting that the federal government should now come ahead and fix the prices of goods and commodities. Is it one that should be obeyed? Looking at the pure fact that expiration of that very order comes into effect tomorrow. So will the federal government go ahead and implement that very order of the federal government? Barrister Homer, I'll plead with you. All of that question will come later. But now we need to go on a break, and when we come back, more discussion centered on the big story for today.